Americans drink 400 million cups of coffee every single day. 400 million. And a massive chunk of those cups are quietly loaded with pesticide residue, microplastics, mold toxins, and in some cases, actual glass. The coffee industry is a $108 billion business, and 3 corporations control most of what's on your shelf. What they don't control is what you know. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which brands to throw in the trash and which 3 to switch to. And number 1 on this list was literally sued for lying to your face about what's in the bag. Stick around, because I'm also giving you 3 clean brands at the end you can actually trust. Number 10. Seattle's Best Coffee. Here's the uncomfortable truth about Seattle's Best. It has the word best in the name and consistently delivers the opposite. What most people don't realize is that Starbucks sold this brand to Nestle in 2022. There are no Seattle's Best coffee houses left anywhere. It exists purely as a packaged product on a grocery shelf, manufactured by one of the world's largest food conglomerates. Caffeine Informer flagged it directly. Seattle's Best doesn't hold to the same sourcing standards Starbucks applies to its own flagship line. No CAFE practices certification. No organic options. No transparency on where the beans actually come from. The flavor reflects that. Reviewers consistently describe it as flat, thin, and bitter. A cup that goes stale fast because pre-ground coffee starts oxidizing the moment it's ground. Natural oils break down. Aroma fades. By the time it hits your mug, the character is already gone. For a brand that built its identity on being the best, it's become one of the laziest products on the shelf. And if you think that's just a quality issue, wait until you see what the next brand has actually been caught doing. Number 9. Café Bustelo. Let's be honest for a moment. You probably love Café Bustelo. The tin is cheap, it hits hard, and it has this cultural weight behind it. But here's what they don't tell you. The core espresso blend is primarily Robusta beans, not Arabica. Robusta is the cheaper species. It grows at lower altitudes on larger farms where pesticide use is heavier and bean quality is lower. Coffee professionals consider it inferior. Here's the kicker. Café Bustelo carries 0 certifications. No fair trade, no Rainforest Alliance, no USDA organic. Not a single independent audit of how those beans were grown, who grew them, or what chemicals touched them before roasting. Robusta beans also carry a higher risk of mycotoxin contamination, specifically ochratoxin A, a compound that damages kidneys and is classified as a possible carcinogen. Without testing, you have no idea what's in the tin. The vacuum seal brick format protects freshness until you break the seal. After that, there's no real barrier. Air rushes in. Within a few days, you're drinking oxidized coffee that tastes harsher than it already did. Bold and cheap has a cost. It just doesn't show up on the price tag. Number 8. Nescafé. Nescafé is the most consumed coffee brand on Earth, which means this problem is enormous. Here's what most people don't realize about instant coffee. The manufacturing process requires extreme heat, twice. Once to brew the concentrate, once to spray dry it into powder. Each heat exposure generates acrylamide, a compound the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies as a probable human carcinogen. FDA testing found Nescafé Classic at 471 parts per billion of acrylamide. For context, brewed ground coffee averages around 179. Instant coffee nearly doubles it. The deeper explanation is the sourcing. Nestlé's coffee supply chain has been investigated multiple times. A Danish watchdog found workers in slavery-like conditions at Brazilian farms supplying Nestlé. A Channel 4 documentary found child labor on Nespresso-associated farms in Guatemala. In 2024, a formal legal complaint under Germany's Supply Chain Act named Nestlé alongside Starbucks for labor violations across 4 countries. In 2010, Nescafé espresso was recalled in Canada for possible glass fragment contamination. For people buying coffee out of convenience, this is the real cost of the shortcut. Number 7. Maxwell House. Maxwell House's famous slogan promised it was good to the last drop. A federal judge had a different take. What most people don't realize is that Maxwell House paid a $16 million class action settlement in 2021 for deceiving consumers about how many servings were actually in each container. The label said one thing. The coffee inside delivered far less. Consumer health reports paint a worse picture. The site iwaspoisoned.com contains dozens of Maxwell House entries. Users reporting diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, bloody stool, and persistent intestinal issues after opening new containers. In nearly every case, symptoms resolved after switching brands. Kraft Heinz tried to sell Maxwell House in 2019. They couldn't find a buyer. The brand has lost market share every year for over a decade. In 2012, over 2 million Maxwell House tea discs were recalled due to a burn hazard. The Philippines FDA issued a public health warning against an unregistered Maxwell House product in 2023. A company that can't be sold, keeps getting recalled, and settled a lawsuit over lying about its own label is not a company that's looking out for you. Quick pause. How many of these have you already bought or currently have in your cabinet? Be honest. If you're counting 2 or more, drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. The next 3 entries get significantly darker. Number 6. Keurig K-Cups. The convenience is real. The cost is something they never put on the packaging. Here's what most people don't realize. A 2025 University of Birmingham study found significant levels of microplastics in pod-brewed coffee, about 43 microplastic particles per liter. Those particles come directly from the polypropylene pod itself, broken down by hot water forced through the plastic under pressure. A 2024 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found microplastic particles in human arterial plaques. People with higher levels had significantly higher risk of heart attack, stroke, and early death. No federal standard exists for microplastics in food or beverages. The data on pesticides is just as alarming. A peer-reviewed 2024 study, testing over 800 coffee samples, found coffee capsules had a pesticide contamination rate of 63.64%, compared to 21% for regular roasted coffee. The capsule format traps moisture, extends shelf time, and creates the perfect conditions for contamination to accumulate. Then there's the machine itself. Lab tests have found millions of bacterial and mold colonies, including potential pathogens like E. coli and staph, in Keurig water reservoirs and internal tubing. And if you thought Keurig cared about any of this, consider their legal history. A $10 million class action settlement in 2022 for falsely marketing pods as recyclable. A $1.5 million SEC fine in 2024 for the same lie in their annual reports. A $3 million Canadian fine. Then, in January 2026, a new complaint was filed because they were still doing it. Every cup is a convenience. Every cup is also a compromise. Number 5. Deathwish Coffee. The brand built its entire identity on being extreme. It turns out the extremity goes beyond marketing. A standard 12-ounce brewed cup of Deathwish coffee contains approximately 728 milligrams of caffeine. The FDA's daily limit for healthy adults is 400 milligrams. You blow past that in a single mug before 8 a.m. The part that really stings is what happened when they went into canned coffee. In September 2017, Deathwish issued a voluntary recall of all 11-ounce nitro cold brew cans after Cornell University's Food Safety Lab found the manufacturing process could support growth of Clostridium botulinum, the bacterium behind botulism, one of the most dangerous foodborne toxins on the planet. Roughly 3,360 cans were pulled from shelves. No confirmed illnesses, but botulism doesn't give second chances. The real reason this brand is dangerous isn't just the recall, it's the daily habit. Consistent caffeine intake above 600 milligrams is associated with bone thinning, elevated blood pressure, disrupted sleep architecture, anxiety disorders, and irregular heart rhythms. At 728 milligrams per cup, Deathwish crosses that threshold before you've finished breakfast. Extreme branding is just marketing. Extreme caffeine exposure is a health decision, and most people drinking this aren't making it consciously. Number 4. Starbucks grocery bags. Here's one that catches people off guard. The green logo feels premium. It isn't. Not anymore. Since August 2018, every bag of Starbucks coffee you buy at a grocery store has been manufactured, distributed, and marketed by Nestlé under a $7.15 billion licensing deal. This isn't the same supply chain as your local Starbucks. It's Nestlé putting green labels on coffee. Freshness is the first casualty. Specialty roasters say the ideal drinking window is 2 to 3 weeks after roasting. Grocery bags carry a best buy date, not a roast date. That bag could be sitting on the shelf for months. In January 2026, a class action was filed alleging Starbucks' claim of 100% ethical coffee sourcing is false advertising. The lawsuit cited investigations into slavery-like conditions at a farm holding a CAFE certification, Starbucks' own ethical sourcing badge, and formal complaints against a major Brazilian cooperative supplying roughly 40% of Starbucks' Brazilian coffee. The independent lab testing in that same lawsuit is what should concern you. Starbucks Decaf House Blend tested positive for methylene chloride at 22 parts per billion, benzene at 28 parts per billion, 23 points above the EPA safe threshold, and toluene at 87 parts per billion. Starbucks disputes the findings. The lawsuit is ongoing. Paying premium prices for a Nestlé-managed product with these questions unanswered is not a smart trade. Number 3. Folgers. America's best-selling coffee brand is also one of the most dishonest. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Folgers has been the subject of at least 5 class action lawsuits filed between 2020 and 2021, all making the same allegation. The can says 240 cups. Independent testing found it only makes about 173. That's a 28% gap. 5 separate states. 5 separate cases. A former employee alleged the company adds chaff, the papery husk usually discarded after roasting, back into the coffee as filler. That would explain both the weight on the label and the taste in the cup. The Clean Label Project's 2025 study found canned coffee formats had 66.9% more acrylamide than bagged coffee, and 57.6% more phthalates. Folgers Classic Instant tested at 458 parts per billion of acrylamide in FDA testing, among the highest of any instant product measured. Consumer Reports placed Folgers last or near last in every blind taste test run between 2009 and 2011. No organic options, no fair trade, no Rainforest Alliance, no independent third-party testing, no disclosure of bean ratios or sourcing countries. This isn't just bad coffee. It's a brand that has been repeatedly taken to court for deceiving the people buying it. Number 2. Walmart's Great Value Coffee. You get what you pay for. But with great value, you're paying for something and getting nothing confirmed. Here's what most people don't realize. Walmart doesn't make this coffee. They contract it to third-party manufacturers, companies like JDE Peet's and Mother Parkers. And Walmart doesn't publicly disclose who fills each product or from where. One identified supplier operates over 741,000 acres in Brazil's Mata Atlântica forest region. a globally recognized biodiversity hotspot. Using monoculture farming practices environmentalists have raised concerns about. Zero organic certification. Zero fair trade. Zero published mycotoxin or pesticide testing. No roast date. No origin detail beyond 100% Arabica, a claim that carries no verification mechanism. The Great Value brand, across its product lines, has collected some of the most serious FDA actions in recent years. A Class 1 recall, the highest risk classification, for salmonella in organic chia seeds. Frozen fruit recalled after hepatitis A caused 10 illnesses and 4 hospitalizations. Breakfast products recalled for plastic contamination. None are coffee specifically, but they reveal the quality control culture behind the label you're trusting with your morning cup. And here's what bothers me most. Walmart is the largest grocery retailer in America. Millions of people on tight budgets choose Great Value because they have to. Those are exactly the people who deserve to know what's actually in the bag. Number 1. Dunkin' Grocery Store Blend. And here's where it all comes together. The most popular name in American coffee culture puts its brand on a product it doesn't actually make, and then gets sued for it. The Dunkin' bags and K-Cups at your grocery store are manufactured entirely by J.M. Smucker under a licensing deal. Smucker's factories, Smucker's supply chain, Smucker's sourcing decisions. Dunkin' just lends the name. In Dunkin's own documentation, they acknowledge the grocery version is specially blended and roasted, different from what you'd get at the counter. Here's what they don't tell you. Only about 30% of Dunkin's dark roast beans carry Rainforest Alliance certification. The rest have no independent sustainability verification. No organic options exist across the at-home lineup. A 2025 greenwashing class action is now pending, alleging the brand overstates the ethical sourcing of its entire coffee line. The part that really stings is who this affects. Dunkin' built its brand on being the everyday person's coffee. Affordable, reliable, familiar. That identity was built on working-class loyalty. And what workers get in return is a grocery product made by a food conglomerate, labeled with a logo that means something different at the counter, sold with sourcing claims that are currently being challenged in federal court. You're spending money on a brand, not on coffee, not on quality, not on transparency. In 2026, that distinction matters more than ever. You have grocery prices climbing, food budgets getting squeezed, and brands banking on the fact that loyalty is a substitute for information. It isn't. Not anymore. The 3 brands worth buying. Number 3. Kicking Horse Coffee. Certified organic, 100% fair trade, 100% Arabica. Founded in 1996 in the Canadian Rockies, now widely available at Whole Foods, Target, and Costco. About $11 to $14 for a 10-ounce bag. Their kick-ass dark roast is the gold standard for grocery-accessible clean coffee. Acquired by Lavazza, but standards held. Number 2. Life Boost Coffee. Single origin Arabica from Nicaragua's protected mountain region. USDA organic. Fair trade, non-GMO. Third-party tested for over 450 toxins. Naturally low acid, smooth flavor. About $29 to $34 per bag. Best option if you have reflux or stomach sensitivity. Number 1. Purity Coffee. The most rigorously tested coffee on the market. Certified B Corp, USDA organic, Smithsonian bird friendly. Publishes full independent lab results on their website, testing every batch for mold, mycotoxins, pesticides, acrylamide, and heavy metals. Their roasting process is specifically calibrated to maximize antioxidants while minimizing harmful compounds. about $29 per bag. This is what your morning cup should be. Stop feeling guilty about switching brands. You're not being disloyal. You're paying attention. They're the ones who stopped earning it. Drop one word in the comments. Which brand are you done with? Let's see which one gets the most votes. If this gave you something you didn't know this morning, hit subscribe. No filler, no fluff. Just the information they'd rather you didn't have. The next video is already on your screen. Click it and see if YouTube got it right.